It's been 2 years since our last compact SUV challenge, but these vehicles are extremely important. These are the vehicles that you transport your kids in, that you transport your parents in, or maybe you transport your groceries in. Basically, Americans are using compact SUVs like they used to use mid-size sedans as basic family transport. And so for the 2023 model year, we brought the 6 top contenders for the compact SUV segment here to sunny Southern California to see which one of them comes out on top.
We've really got a fresh group of contenders this time around, including 2 redesigned for 2023 models. That's the Honda CR-V and the Kia Sportage. The Mazda CX-50 is all new for 2023. And then we also brought back our previous champion, the Nissan Rogue, also the Hyundai Tucson and the Ford Escape, which has been significantly refreshed for 2023.
We took these 6 SUVs on identical driving routes, a fuel economy test, poked around inside to test all the features, and also conducted car seat and cargo tests.
So which one of them comes out on top? Let's have a look. In 6th place is this, the 2023 Ford Escape ST Line Elite. We haven't seen one of these for a while. It's been refreshed for the 23 model year. What did you think about it?
I really liked it. I think the Escape ST Line Elite lives up to the ST Line part of things here. It's one of the most fun to drive. It's one of the 2 sort of sports cars we have here. Thought the powertrain was great, lots of power. Also the most fuel efficient, which is a nice bonus. Very nimble, agile handling, but there are some penalties.
Yeah, the ride quality is just okay. It is kind of bouncy. That's part of the whole, I think, sporty atmosphere of this thing. I would definitely agree with you on that EcoBoost powertrain. It was one of the most powerful engines here, and it felt like it, especially when you're up at the twisties in the mountains like above us here. The thing felt nimble, it felt light, it felt agile, and I think that's also partly due to the fact that it's really not necessarily the biggest vehicle in this group. That shows up in the cargo numbers as well.
Yeah, and you know, if fun to drive were a really important part of this testing, this would be a great choice. But these are family cars, and it's not really what you're looking for. But what really let the Escape down was its interior. I thought the quality was just subpar, especially for what's the most expensive vehicle here. And comfort was also an issue. We rated it least comfortable up front. I felt like I was sitting on top of the seats instead of in them. We do enjoy the large Sync 4 touchscreen. That's a bonus. Great graphics, very nice configurability in the digital instrument panel as well. But the interior is really where this falls flat.
Yeah, some of the plastic quality in here, you're not talking about hard plastics, but you do feel like they're cheap plastics. And that also shows up in some of the technology as well, like the very unusual heads-up display that operates on this flip-up transparent plastic panel that then essentially puts the information on the hood. If you're over 5'6", to have to lower this thing far enough to actually see it, it really would wash out, especially if you had a white vehicle, you have the white text on the white hood, you're not going to be able to see it. And there's also a little unusual plastic button that controls a number of different features.
Yeah, you get your camera controls, your automatic parking assist, also your max defrost button. It just feels like they wanted to put a set of physical buttons in the car, and then we're told by accounting, we can only do one.
Yeah, and it's one button that knows where your finger is on the strip, but when you push the entire thing moves. And that and a couple of other issues just made it feel like they cheaped out on some parts of the interior. So great vehicle in terms of fun to drive, not terribly comfortable, not great in terms of plastic and interior quality, which really shows up when you've got a number of other vehicles in the test that are a couple $1,000s less, that have nicer interiors, and that's really kind of what let the Escape down.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but something's got to be last. Coming in 5th place in our testing is the all-new 2023 Mazda CX-50, easily the most polarizing vehicle in our test. Out of 11 subjective categories, the CX-50 came in 1st place in 4 and last place in 5. But let's start with the biggest win, the powertrain.
It's a great powertrain. It feels great, it's strong, it sounds great. It really gives this vehicle a sporty feel.
Absolutely. The handling is Mazda signature great. Steering feel is fantastic. This was the most fun to drive once we got up into the canyons. But there's a penalty for that. It was the least fun to drive around town.
20-inch wheels, sporty suspension tuning take a toll on everyday ride quality, and this was the stiffest rider of the group.
Absolutely. I thought it was just brutal. You hit a pothole in this and you feel it. But one thing that does feel nice, just to transition back to that, is the interior. The interior quality is fantastic. The materials are just great. Everything feels nice and premium. Mazda is trying to be more of a premium brand, and I think they really nail it here.
Absolutely. Leather upholstery, nice stitching. It really is in keeping with their aspirations to take the brand upscale.
Unfortunately, there are some downsides to this interior. Let's start with the biggest, this central display. I don't even think we can really call it a touchscreen.
No, it's simply behind the times. There's touchscreen functionality in limited situations, but it's almost a moot point because the screen itself is so far away that it's an uncomfortable reach. So that means you're stuck using a console-mounted knob, and it's just not up to snuff with the rest of the class.
Absolutely distracting. I would much rather have a reachable touchscreen given the choice. Also, because of its sporty nature, you get a couple penalties both to visibility and interior room. The front windshield is super raked, very low roofline. The back windscreen is also very small and the headrests get in the way. It's hard to see out of. It's also not very roomy.
Yeah, I fit okay in the front seat, but the back seat room is kind of a deal breaker for me because I just don't fit. My head hits the headliner, I don't have enough leg room. Smaller adults will probably be okay, but this is at the back of the pack in terms of rear seat space.
And it's not just for adults. It got the lowest car seat score in the test. Overall, we do really like to drive this. This has the looks of a sports car, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it's lovely. The low stance, the bulged out fenders. If you can call a compact SUV sexy, I would call this sexy.
Yeah, this is a great driving vehicle. If that's what you're looking for in a compact SUV, have at it. This is a fantastic choice. But if you're not, if you're looking for a more practical family-oriented vehicle, this is probably not for you, and that's a big reason why the CX-50 came in 5th. And in 4th place, we have the entirely redesigned 2023 Honda CR-V. The last time we tested these, the last generation CR-V finished dead last. But this time, it's improved, but it didn't have quite enough to push it over into the top half of our test.
This is just an excellent all-around, middle-of-the-road compact SUV, wouldn't you say?
I would, and what's interesting about the CR-V to me is that this is the top trim level you can get for the gas-only CR-V, but it's an EXL, and there is a higher trim available, but we weren't testing that, so this is what we're left with.
Yeah, and it felt like this test vehicle was missing a few of the amenities that some of the other ones had.
Yeah, I mean, everything feels very nicely put together. I thought the driving experience wasn't super exciting, but very, very solid, decent ride quality, a little bit noisy from the CVT, but fairly powerful, handled fairly well, steering good, average.
Yeah, competent all around for everyday use.
I would agree with that. And the interior, I think, is really well laid out. The seats are nice and roomy, nice comfortable front seats especially. You get a very large bin. It's not the same sort of fun, configurable one that the last generation had, but it's a nice big storage space, which not every vehicle here has.
Yeah, and honestly, my favorite thing about the CR-V is its excellent rear cargo space and its excellent back seat space. I think this was one of the most spacious back seats. The rear seats recline a long way, and you've got excellent legroom for the class as well.
Absolutely. What you are missing, though, interestingly in this one, is rear USB charging. It is optional on this trim level, but ours did not come equipped with it, so we couldn't give it the points for that.
Right.
What's interesting to me as well about the tech in the CR-V is, besides the fact that it's missing some features like a 360-degree camera that other vehicles here have, is that for an all-new vehicle, again, the tech feels a little bit old, and even weirder, having driven the Accord, Honda has this new tech available, it's just not here.
Yeah, graphics are a little bit dated, screen's a little bit smaller than some of the others, doesn't feel particularly cutting edge, especially, as you said, for an all-new vehicle design.
But you do get wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. I think the graphics are a little dim, but overall the operation is good. It's just not really up to par anymore.
Yeah.
Overall, I think the new CR-V is fine in its EXL guise. I think previous generation CR-V owners would be happy with it, but fine here is really only good enough to get you 4th place.
And in third place is this. This is the 2022 Hyundai Tucson Limited. Now, not a 23, but they weren't building 23s in time for our test, but the 2022 is pretty much identical to the new 23, and it's really nice inside.
Honestly, this might be my favorite interior of the group. The materials are fantastic. The design is interesting without being complicated, so it's still easy to use. Just a great all-around package.
And you're sitting fairly high in it, and everything around you is really rather low. So it provides a lot of really great visibility out. Everything is really within easy reach. There's nothing distracting that you have to try and find. The layout, I think, is very good. And we normally applaud them for including buttons on interiors instead of touch-sensitive stuff. But for this one, we had a couple quirks with this interior.
Yeah, the push-button gear selector, I never fully acclimated to it. I don't think you did either.
No.
Kind of an odd layout. I would have much preferred a more traditional gear selector.
Exactly. Every time I went to stop the vehicle and put it in park, I hit reverse because that's located above drive where it would normally be on a shifter, and then I had to put it in park. So, where you've got buttons where they shouldn't be and no buttons where they should be because there's no volume knob for the media system either. So you're pressing the touch-sensitive screen or trying to press the touch-sensitive screen. I had issues with actually getting it to recognize my finger.
Yeah, and I didn't have as many issues as you did, but the touch-sensitive control panel, not an ideal layout.
Yeah, it's distracting, and it's hard to actually select something and then find what you're looking for if it's a knob is just generally a lot easier. But frankly, the rest of this interior is dynamite. The material quality is fantastic. It's nicer than some of the vehicles in this test that cost thousands of dollars more, and there's plenty of room inside as well.
Yeah, packed with features too. Ventilated front seats, heated steering wheel, the interesting little rear blind spot camera that pops up in the digital gauge cluster. And yes, as you said, this is one of the best back seats in the class.
Yeah, but not all was great with this thing. One of the things holding it back really was its powertrain. It's a base powertrain. You can get one that's a more powerful hybrid powertrain, but for the purposes of our test, we wanted to make sure that we got the high volume gas engine that most people buy. That's what this one has. And it really does struggle.
Yeah, a middling acceleration, which I would be more forgiving of if the fuel economy was outstanding, but it's definitely not because this motor has to work very hard all the time to provide adequate acceleration.
It really does. And then when you're trying to go like through the twisties in some of these canyons here, it really did show just how hard it was struggling to keep up with things, and and the noise involved with it as well was just a little bit overwhelming. But frankly, the powertrain is really one of the only negative parts about this thing. Overall, it's a dynamite package.
Absolutely. Everyday functionality is fantastic. Space, convenience, comfort. I thought the ride quality was decent. Just a great, nicely balanced package.
I don't even mind the way it looks. I think it looks wild, but I think Hyundai have figured out how to be different without looking stupid, and I really do think they nailed it with this one.
I think it's a little quirkier than I would like, but based on the number of these I see on the streets, I think most people think it's just fine.
Yeah, I think it looks just fine, but looking just fine isn't quite enough to get you into first place. The combination of iffy powertrain but really nice interior is what landed the Tucson in third.
Coming in second place in our comparison was the redesigned 2023 Kia Sportage here in X-Pro Prestige trim. What do we like about it, Aaron?
Frankly, I think this has the best interior here. It is comfortable, it is stylish. I really do like the whole single panel for both the digital gauge cluster and the touchscreen. It feels almost frankly like things you see in much more expensive vehicles like from Mercedes-Benz or from Cadillac, and it works really well too, I think.
Absolutely, the graphics are great. It's very easy to use, lots of helpful information, big screens. Big fan overall, and the interior layout is great. Very comfortable inside as well. This was first in both front and back seat comfort.
I believe it. It's a really well done interior, both the material quality, the layout, as you said, the seat comfort, and it still maintains things like an actual traditional shifter and a volume knob for the controls for the multimedia screen as well. So things that we value, things that we know help to avoid distractions while you're driving, present in the Sportage.
Absolutely. One slight mark against it though is that the physical knobs operate both the climate and the audio controls, and you have to switch between the two. I had some issues. I changed the air when I wanted to change the volume. I changed the volume when I wanted to change the air. It's a learning curve.
If that's the price to pay for having to maintain still an actual physical knob, you know what, I'll pay it. But You know, I liked that a lot more than I liked the powertrain in the Sportage.
Absolutely. This is adequate, I would say.
Yeah.
But somewhat overtaxed. And also, these big X-Pro off-road tires don't really help with the performance aspect.
Yeah, the whole idea of this thing being an off-road vehicle kind of really doesn't work for me. I do like the fact that it rides beautifully because you've got the smallest tires, the smallest wheels in this test, where the 17-inch wheels wearing these big balloony all-terrain tires, but that also sets it up to be rather loud inside as well. These are not quiet tires on the street.
No, absolutely not. And it gets worse, for me at least, at highway speeds. It's a little less noticeable around town, but once you start getting into 70, 80 miles an hour, when it really starts to drone on. It also scored poorly in braking, which I think might come down somewhat to the tires. The pedal feel, I don't think any of us were huge fans of, but just the grip for these on pavement is a bit lacking, which also translated into some low handling scores.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they're trying to build this as the top off-road capable model, but frankly, I wouldn't drive this thing any further off-road than the dirt driveway up to an organic farmer's market. It really doesn't need to have that kind of abilities. It's really more about the appearance, and these black plastic side sills, the black roof as well. It's meant to look like you can go anywhere and be all kinds of crazy adventurous, but it's really not built for going really very far off-road at all.
No, it really, really isn't. The ground clearance doesn't even change.
No.
Overall, though, big fans of this. Personally, I think if I were picking one of these SUVs, I think this would probably be my choice. It was the most comfortable for me.
In the X-Pro trim?
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly. It's comfortable. It struggles with the powertrain, but again, there is a more powerful powertrain available, but we don't test that because that's the hybrid version. We're still sticking with gas versions. Overall, though, its combination of really, really nice interior and smooth ride is what landed it in second place. And in first place is the defending champion, the 2023 Nissan Rogue Platinum. And I have to say, this thing is probably the biggest surprise for me about this entire test. I hadn't driven a Rogue in quite some time, and just the whole combination of how nice it is inside in particular really did surprise me. The interior quality on this is surprising. It's got quilted leather seats, it's got really beautiful panels on the dash and the doors. Overall, it's really just an astonishingly nice vehicle inside.
It won't surprise you to know my favorite feature of the Rogue, very airy, tall roof cabin. I had headroom to spare, which is not something I'm used to in most vehicles. And in addition to the airy cabin, the thin windshield pillars makes for a panoramic view out the windshield.
Yeah, the visibility out is good. Your seating position is not too high, it's not too low. In some of these vehicles we've seen, you felt like you're sitting in a hole, like in a bunker, and everything is really low in front of you. This is, I think, at the perfect spot. And the interior is loaded with actual buttons. It's not touch sensitive everything. You've got buttons for just about everything. It does have a multimedia screen that is touch sensitive for the multimedia system, but everything has a button control and they're easy to use and easy to find, and I frankly love that about it.
Yeah, maybe not the biggest infotainment screen around, and Nissan sticking with push buttons versus touch sensitive controls is a big plus.
Yeah.
Also, the small item storage in here is fantastic.
It's got plenty of cabin space. It's got the, what did you call that center console?
The purse porch.
The purse porch, the Bombay style doors, yes. And why is that good for us?
When you got kids in the back seat that need to get something out of the center console, if you've got a flip up lid, it blocks access, but the Bombay doors open like this, kids can reach in and get their juice box or whatever out of the center console.
Given how good this interior is, we usually then say, yeah, but the powertrain is not so great. But in this thing, I'm just as impressed with the powertrain as I am with the interior, and it's a turbocharged 3-cylinder engine, which is rather unusual.
Yes, and if you wouldn't have told me, I probably wouldn't have guessed. It's quiet, it's punchy, peppy, at least in around town driving. When we got to the twisty, climby parts of our drive route, the engine, the CVT transmission did need to hold higher RPMs, and the buzz of the engine comes through a little bit then, but in everyday driving, surprisingly quiet.
It does run out of steam at higher speeds on the highway as well. So if you're driving along at 65, 70, you need to pass something, you put your foot down, it's gonna tell you there's not much left, and you're gonna have to do some planning ahead of time. The other thing, the one thing that I would really potentially ding it for though, however, is the ride quality. These great big 19-inch wheels and tires don't do it many favors in terms of ride quality. It can be a little bit bouncy and harsh and a little bit noisy.
Yeah, and that's 19-inch wheels come with the platinum trim. There are smaller diameter tires available, which would maybe help a little bit, but yes, this is one of the stiffer riding vehicles in the group.
But when you put 4 people in it, it actually does smooth things out considerably. So when you're using it as a family vehicle, you may not necessarily notice that ride quality nearly as much. The other area that we didn't score it terribly highly was in handling. Now, not to say that it handles poorly, it doesn't. It's just a little bit numb. It's not quite as athletic as some of the other ones were, but again, using it as a family vehicle, it's not going to be an issue.
For sure.
Yep. It's the combination of outstanding interior quality, dynamite features, excellent powertrain, really good fuel economy, and just frankly overall competence in just about everything that the Rogue does that has landed as the champion once again, the winner of our 2023 Cars.com Compact SUV Challenge, the 2023 Nissan Rogue. If you'd like to learn more about the challenge or see all of the judges' scores, you can look everything up on Cars.com.